Today I'm going to teach you how to make a peekaboo card. I went online and I got a couple of, I watched a couple of tutorials on it. They were a little confusing, so it took me a while to kind of figure it out. But I think I got it set to where I can give you easier directions than what I found online. And there might be an easier one out there. I just looked at a couple of them and they were very confusing. So this one here was the first one that I made. I do not like the size of it. It's a 5.5 by 5.5. I'm more traditional with the A2 size. So, but I wanted to try it out and see if I could make it and how easy it was. And this one here, I used the Special Reason stamp set, which is available. It actually is on sale right now. It's $15 for the clear mount set. And I also use the Stylish stems framelets. They're no longer available, so you might already have them. And I also use the Designer Series paper with this, the Succulent Garden, and also our Glimmer paper here. The stamps that I used here, that came from Thoughtful Banners. So, and there's also a punch that goes along with the Thoughtful Banners. So this is why we call it a peekaboo card. If I can open it here, it's kind of hard upside down. See how that peeks out? Isn't that so cute? So it's fairly simple to make, I think. I think my directions are fairly simple, but hopefully you guys will feel the same way. So I had to tweak it because I wanted, like I said, the A2 size. So this is what I came up with. And this one here is using the Cool Treats stamp set. And the, I actually got the Cool Treats bundle with the framelets, which the Frozen Treats framelets, which are so cool. There's so many different, let me take them right out of here. So many different little things in there. I like the little spoon and lots of cute cutouts here. So I bought these in the bundle, which if you buy in the bundle right now, you save 10%. The bundles are going away as of June 1st. So anything that you see right now as a bundle that says save 10%, if you buy it as a bundle, it's not going to be available as of June 1st. So I would take advantage of that, save a little money. So I used the Designer Series paper in that set, which is called Tasty Treats. And that is on sale right now. So this is the card here. I'll show you. And I know this is crooked up here, but I should have used my Stamp-A-Majig to get it straight, but I didn't. And you know what? They know it's homemade, so. But isn't this cute? So I like this card. I like the different little cards, the moving cards. So this is your peekaboo card. And like I said, I think it's fairly easy. So we're going to go ahead and get started on it. Now what you're going to need is, you're going to need some cardstock. Right here I am using the pumpkin pie cardstock. And this is one piece of cardstock. And it's cut 8.5 by 4.25. So you're going to need two of those. Two 8.5s by 4.25. And then the other piece of the pumpkin pie cardstock you need, this one measures out at 5 3/4 by 4.25. Then you're going to need pieces of Whisper White. You're going to need 3 of these. You're going to need one is at 5 1/4 by 4 1/8. And then 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. And then a little smaller piece is 4 1/8 by 2 7/8. And then you're going to need 2 pieces of Designer Series paper. This here was cut at 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And this one is 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. So the first thing we're going to do is you have to score a couple of these. So we're going to go ahead and score these right now. And I'm just going to use my Stampin' Up! Trimmer, paper trimmer with the scorer on it. So we're going to take one of our longer pieces of the pumpkin pie, 8.5 by 4.5, and we're going to score one at 4 1/4. So we're going to take the other piece of pumpkin pie, which measures 8.5 by 4 1/4 also, and this one we're going to score at 3. And then we're just going to set that aside. And then we're going to take our last piece of the pumpkin pie and we're going to score this at 1/4 of an inch. So this one's a little harder to score here. So you can see the score line there. You just need 1/4 of an inch at the end there. So now what we want to do is just take our score lines and just fold them. And this one here, the one that we scored at 1/4 of an inch, when you fold this one, just kind of work it easily. You don't want to rip it. I found that if you rush with it, the last time I just kind of folded it quick and I ripped it. So just kind of be careful with this one because it's such a small fold. So now we're going to take our one piece, the 8.5 by 4 1/4, the one that's folded in half that was scored at 4 1/4, and we're going to put a piece of designer series paper on one side and a piece of whisper white on the other. So you're going to want to take your designer series paper 4 1/8 by 4 1/8, and then your whisper white that measures out at 4 1/8 by 4 1/8. So we're going to take your designer series paper and we're going to glue it down on this side. Now it's up to you what you want to use as far as glue. We are going to be cutting holes into here, so you want to make sure you get a lot of adhesive down on this. You can use your Tombow, you can use your Fast Fuse. I'm just going to use my advanced tape glider. I like my snail adhesive and I like the other ones, but this is my favorite glue gun that I have, or adhesive gun that I have. I've used it for many years and I just love how quick it is to use, and the adhesive for it is very strong. So I tend to use this a lot, especially for something that I want to stick. So just make sure you put a lot of adhesive down because, like I said, you're going to be cutting. So we're just going to glue this down on one side. And it should just leave a little frame around your designer series paper. Then we're going to do the same thing with the whisper white. And again, like I said, you can use whatever kind of glue you like. Just make sure you use a lot of it. This here, like I said, I've had for many years. So we're just going to go ahead and glue this down on the other side. And again, give it a little border of the orange. Pumpkin pie, I should say. So it should look like this. So it's folded in half, and this is what it's going to look like. So we're going to set this aside. Then we're going to take our next piece of paper here, the one that's folded like so, and we're going to take our smaller piece of whisper white, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to glue that on this little panel here. This side, it's not going to matter. We're not cutting a hole in this one, so. So you're just going to glue this down on your little panel here so it looks like this. So here's your fold, and then the next piece of paper that we're going to use will be this one here, and we're going to go ahead and glue the white panel to this. And again, a little border of orange. So the border of orange should be small around these ends, and then you'll see it's a little, it's almost, if you fold this in half, is where the white ends. So there's a little bit bigger of an area that the white, you want to put it closer to the edge there, if that makes any sense. So we're going to set that aside, and then we have one more piece of designer series paper. Put it on the front here. So you have your piece of Whisper White here, and you can either fold it in or take your card out, however you want to put it on there. But and again, we want to use more adhesive because this part is going to have a hole cut into it. So your pieces should look like this. You have your one piece, 8.5 by 4 1/4, with your Whisper White and your designer series paper, and then you have your other 8.5 by 4 1/4. This one here got the little panel, the little white panel, and on the opposite side you have your designer series paper, and then you have your other piece of cardstock, which this one here was the 5 3/4 by 4 1/4, and with the little fold here, and you have your Whisper White here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and you're going to need either a hole punch, a circle punch, or your layering circle framelits. This is what I'm using, the layering circle framelits, and I'm going to use the 5th one, starting with the smallest. What I'll do is I'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'll use this guy here. So it's the 5th smallest one. And then we're also going to use, here in the scalloped ones, we're going to use the 6th smallest one. So we'll count again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So on here, we'll use this guy. But we're going to set this aside. We're not going to use it right now, but we will use it in a second to make these frames here. So the first piece we're going to cut with the circle is the piece with the designer series paper on one side and a little white panel on the other. What you're going to do is you're going to fold in your white panel, just like so. And then you're going to look over here, down here on the bottom is where we're going to cut our circle out. So you just want to make sure that your designer series paper, this way here, your circle's going to be. So we're going to flip it around, and you don't want your framelit to go past the fold. So you don't want it to do this. You want it to be right even with the fold there. So I'll just pull it up a little off the bottom, and that looks about good. So we're just going to run that through the Big Shot, And I have my magnetic plate on. So whichever plate if you have your just the regular plate or the magnetic one. But we're just going to run this through, and you can, if they recommended it in a couple of the videos I watched, and all of them actually. I didn't use it, but they used sticky notes to hold it down. I'm not going to do that, but if you want to use your sticky notes to hold it down, then go ahead. But I'm just going to run this right through. And I also opened up my flap so that it's one straight piece of paper running through there instead of it folded up. I'm just going to run that through. So that's how it will look. And you'll see how that panel is not going over that circle. You don't want this panel to go into this circle. So there's one circle. So now what we're going to do is we're going to get our piece here with the Designer Series paper and the Whisper White. And this one here, we're going to line it up with this card here. So you're going to take this and you're going to line it up like so that the edges here are all lined up. And you'll see, just fold that up. I don't know if that makes sense to you. You have your little piece of paper here. You fold it in half. So you have your two orange sides. And then you take this piece here and you just line them right up to the edge so that they're nice and lined up. And then you're going to need a pencil, and we're just going to draw the circle here. So once you have the circle drawn with the pencil, we're just going to lay the layering circle framelit die right on top. And I'm going to use my Big Shot platform with the thin die adapter. Sometimes the magnetic one, it doesn't stay like it, I don't know, the magnet makes it move more, if that makes sense. So you're just going to line this up on here. And again, in the other videos that I watched, they recommended using Post-it notes to kind of hold it down and anchor it down. That's something you can do if you want. I'm going to choose not to do that. I'm comfortable enough just holding it. Now you're going to feel some pressure when you push it through because there's a lot of paper there. So once it cuts, it's not going to cut all the way through. So it'll cut out your first circle. And then the second one, you'll see there's a good indent in there. So just line it up, line your framelit on the indent, and just run it through again. So you have the circles, they line up perfectly. So now we're going to set our Big Shot aside. And now what we're going to do is we're going to glue these two together. So this is going to be the front of your card. So what you need to do is just make sure everything's lined up here. Okay, so what you need to do is take your orange piece with the two circles cut out. Make sure you get the piece with the Whisper White. And we're just going to line up these two ends like we did before to make the circle. But we're going to put some glue down. So it's up to you what kind of glue you want to use. I'm going to use the Tombow glue, and I'm just going to get that all over, and I'm going to make sure I put it around the circle. You can use snail adhesive, you can use Fast Fuse. Actually, I don't know, I would recommend the Fast Fuse or the Tombow. So once you have your glue on there, like I said, go ahead and line these two up. So you're lining up this one here, and you're lining up the Whisper White. And you're just going to line them right up so that they're nice and even. And the nice thing about the Tombow glue is you can move it around and get it just right before it dries. So you have a little bit, where if you use the snail adhesive, once you stick it down, you're pretty much stuck. So once you get it lined right up, make sure it's nice and lined up. Then give it a nice press down. And it's going to look like this. You're going to have your card looking like this. Okay, so now we're going to take our next piece of the card, the one with the flap that's bent up here, and which it makes it easier is I'm going to take this part of the card here, the one with the flap that's hanging back, I'm just going to fold it back so that your card is like this. So that's folded back and your card's like this. We're going to take this side and we're going to line it up to this side. So this part here you're going to flip over, and this little tab here you're going to get glue on. So if you can see that, you're going to get glue on this little piece bent here, and it's going to glue to the front of the card like so. So I'm going to use the mono glue again. You can use whatever you'd like. I like the mono because, like I said, you get a little bit of time to move it around, where the other glue, it's kind of just stuck. And it's strong glue. So you're just going to marry those two ends together, where the fold is and your end of the card here. So once you get them lined up, give them a good press together. Just give it a second for the mono to kind of dry. So it should look like this, and then you're going to fold it under. So take your little flap right here, fold it back, fold that, and there's your card. So, and then you'll see your working mechanism in there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stamp here on our circles. So you just want to determine when it's closed what you're going to see, and then when you open it, what's going to slide in here. So I'm going to use Your Sweet from the Cool Treats set, and I'm going to use Pacific Point with that. And what I'm going to do is I want that to be the outside, so when you're looking at it, that's what you see. So I'm just going to, in the videos that I watched, they took a pencil and drew a mark on there, real light, and then they open it up and stamped in there. You can do that. What I'm going to do, what I did on the last one, was I'm just going to take my card, open it up, take that flap, lay it out flat, and then I'm going to take my stamp, and I'm just going to lift this up a little and stamp it down. I don't know if you can see that. And I think, I think it's easier for them to do the pencil, but then you have to remember you have to erase that. But this is what I did. I'm just going to kind of line it up in the center there, and you want to do your stamping before you put your frames on, because the frames are going to push it up even more. So there's Your Sweet. So once we have that stamped, we're going to do our next stamping. And I'm using Happy Birthday from the tin of cards. So I like this set. It's got a lot of different sentiments that you can use. So again, I'm just going to use the Happy Birthday from here. I like the Happiest Birthday in here, but it's too big. It's too long to fit in there. So I'm just going to use, again, we're using the same color, Pacific Point. And what we're going to do is your card, you're going to take your card, and you see how the slider comes out like that. you're just going to open up your card just like so, and that's the part you're going to stamp on. So just open up your card and then just stamp on that little spot there, and just make sure when you ink up your inks, you have no ink around your blocks, because that'll get on your card. So, and again, if you're not comfortable doing it this way, draw a circle with a pencil lightly, and then just take this, flip it out, and you'll be able to stamp it right there. But again, I'm just going to stamp it right in my circle. So it says happy birthday. So there's your peekaboo. You're sweet. Okay guys, so now what we're going to do is do the little frames around the circles. And again, at the beginning, I had said this is number 5. So again, it's the 5th, from counting from the smallest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in here, we're going to do the 6th scalloped one. So it's starting from the smallest, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is this one right here, and that's going to make our frames. So I'm just going to use some Watermelon Wonder. I have some lying around. And if you like the Watermelon Wonder or any of the in colors from 2015 to 2017, you want to get them before they go, because they are retiring. So what I'll do is I'll cut the scalloped first, and then I'll cut the circle out of the scallop. So you're going to need 3 of these. Then I kind of just line up your circle around the scallops, and then just give that a cut. I like the layering circles and this layering squares and layering ovals, because you can do a lot with these. They're great for your cards or your scrapbooks, and they're just really universal to have. I need to get a new plate. I've got a lot of cuts in there, and it's making everything stick. But this is what you're going to get. You're going to get your little framelit. So I'm going to cut out 2 more of these, and then we're going to glue them around the edge of the card. So once you have them all cut out, I just take a little of the Tombow glue and just put that around the edge here. And you just glue one around each of the edges of the circles. And it just finishes off that circle quite nicely. And the last card that I did, I used the pumpkin pie to go around, cardstock to go around that. So I like the Watermelon Wonder. Gives it that extra little pop. So on this card here, you'll see I did this sundae, and I cut all these out of the Frozen Treats framelits, but I don't know if you can see how shiny the hot fudge is. So I want to show you how I did that. I just took and I cut out the hot fudge piece, and I think this was cut out of early espresso cardstock, any kind of brown cardstock. And then what I did was I took my Versamark and I just put this on top of the Versamark, and I just kind of pressed it down in the Versamark to make sure that it was nice and wet there with the Versamark. And you could see it's all, I don't know if you can see it, but it's shiny there. So it's nice and wet with the Versamark. So then what I did was I took some clear embossing powder, which is right here, and a scrap piece of paper. And I just put that on top of the scrap piece of paper. And I just sprinkled the clear embossing powder all over the top of it. And then I have a small pair of tweezers that I got at the craft store. I've had them for a long time. I actually need to get a new pair. So I just take my tweezers and I kind of just find an end here, shake it off, and then you'll see it's covered completely with your powder. Then I just heat it with the heat emboss gun. And it gives it that shiny coat to it because you use emboss powder and the clear, so it kind of makes it look like hot fudge. So I thought that was kind of fun to do. So you can decorate it, like I said, any way you want. I think I'm going to go ahead and finish this card up, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Again, it's called the Peekaboo Card, and pretty fun. I like the interactive cards. So I'll leave all the measurements and everything in the video description. And right now, Stampin' Up! Is retiring a bunch of products. So if there's anything that you're thinking of getting and they're on the retiring list, then I would suggest you get it before it's gone. June 1st is when all the new products come out. Some of the products are carrying over, but there are a bunch retiring. There also are a bunch of really, really awesome things coming in June. So I'm excited. I can't wait until we can start ordering and I can start sharing some stuff with you. So if you want to order anything, I'll leave the link to my store in the video description. And you can also visit my website at craftswithchris.com for all the latest information. Thanks for watching.